Hey everybody, welcome to Adam Makes Beer, and today we are going to be washing kegs. Just recently I did a tutorial on how we fill kegs, and I had some feedback that people would like to see the process that we use to clean them. This is a little bit different because we're going to be talking explicitly about our keg washer today, which is just a 2-head Premier stainless keg washer. They're really a workhorse. You're going to see them a lot in our industry. No piece of machinery is perfect. This one gets the job done though, and I like it. This is the second, maybe third brewery I've worked at that's used a Premier stainless. Yeah, that's the company. We are going to run through our whole process here as far as keg washing. And I also have, if you stick to the end, I have one little tip that I like to do when I'm working with cleaning kegs that I think is really awesome. The first step for us when we are cleaning kegs is cleaning keg exteriors. We can see right over here, we've got the kegs that we're going to be working with today. One of the big things that I really like to hit is I like to hit all these keg stems really well. Those keg stems get really full of beer, caked up and nasty, and especially if we're talking about beers, kegs that go out to distro, it's brutal. You have no idea the things that come back on top of these kegs. But anyways, especially in-house kegs are usually much cleaner, but still, we like to make sure that that valve right there where you're engaging the coupler gets cleaned really well. Typically, we will either hit these kegs with a spray acid or caustic product that we get from our chemical manufacturer. We rinse them clean. If it actually takes some manual wash, we'll do that with a cloth in order to get those things off of there. We'll also make sure that we get in that valve really well, making sure that valve is nice and clean before we hook it up to the keg washer. This keg washer operates from this panel right here. And you can see that we have the kegs upside down on the unit. Right at the bottom, right here, there's a pump that's going to be pushing all of the chemical and different things like that and driving the supermajority of these processes. As most things, as I learned when I got into the industry, most things are controlled by, for us, compressed air with a lot of these things, whether it be canning lines, keg washers. We have a whole range of valves that will carry out the various functions of the keg wash. Okay, so we just wrapped up one cleaning cycle, and we're gonna switch over to the next set of kegs. Both of these couplers are engaged right now and have both valves open. We want to close each one of those. Recouple the next. Couple up the next keg for cleaning. Open both of those valves. When I put this on the deck, I am real cognizant to make sure that I am not popping that coupler open, so I won't be washing one of the kegs. If that's the case, I hit reset and start. And then what this is going to do is it's going to walk us through the entire cleaning process. The first thing that's happening right now is just an air push. Compressed air is pushing out anything that is left in the keg, old beer that we don't want in there. And a really key component is the fact that it's flushing the CO2 out of this vessel. As with anything in the brewery and potentially some of it, really any application, whether you're brewing at home or professionally, a closed vessel, a semi-closed vessel, a tank, if you are trying to use caustic cleaner on it, and it's a CO2 rich environment, it can actually neutralize that and take away some of its cleaning power. Just something to think about. But anyhow, so that first big compressed air push both evacuates beer and gets CO2 out. And then there's a rinse right now, which is just a city water rinse. It'll rinse both the shell, where it blasts water through a little bit more robustly, and then it'll ratchet that down just so it falls over the spear. Inside each one of these kegs, there's a spear that goes all the way to the bottom, and it's just like essentially a dip tube, right? So once that rinse water is pushed out, this main pump down here is going to start circulating caustic through each one of these kegs. After that cycle, that caustic is going to be pushed back to the container in the back of the keg washer that also has a heating coil that maintains for us 150 degrees. At that point, each keg will be rinsed again with city water. That will be evacuated out, and then it'll be sanitized. The sanitizer is actually done through a small pump on the side here, and actually is located down here. This container right here is holding a diluted peracetic acid solution. This pump right on the side will meter that in at the appropriate rate and blend it with city water in order to get the appropriate sanitizing solution into the keg. Once that sanitized solution has been spread throughout the inside of the keg, it'll then be held for a while and then pushed out with CO2. The keg will then be purged and pressurized with CO2. So by the time we get this whole cycle is done, the inside of this keg is exactly the way we want it. It is purged and sanitized. And then really the final step is just making sure this valve is in the condition we want it to be in. The condition I want it to be in is hit with a little bit of 70% isopropyl alcohol for sanitizing purposes. We will hit this back up again before we fill this keg. That's really the deal there. I did mention that there's one thing that I like to do, and it's a little bit overkill, but I think it can be useful, especially if you're having like a troubleshooting issue with your keg washer. We are a little parts rich here at Cartridge, which is very nice, but this is our dump hose right here, and this runs down to the drain. You can see right now I'm kicking sanitizer out of this. I just started throwing a sight glass on there. One, it's cool, I don't know, it's kind of cool to see, but it's also like a little bit of a quality control check where you can see the liquid that is being kicked out at various stages, and you can kind of make sure everything's happening as it should be. If I'm running a sanitizing cycle and then it pushes that sanitizer out and it's all discolored coming out of there, I know something's wrong. It can also help me troubleshoot some other issues if I'm having some problems with the machine itself. But anyways, aside from this, this is what I kind of do is, this is my blue line right here is my drain. This does kick a fair amount of power out of it, and that line will want to kick up. It's the reason that I have it weighted down with the catch and the grate for that drain. But anyways, that's kind of what we have going on in a nutshell here when it comes to keg washing. The primary thing is that you do this every time. I do think it's good to be able to hit up that valve with ISO. You don't want your kegs sitting around dirty. You want to get them clean really as soon as you can. We clean kegs about 1 to 2 times a week. And the other thing, and it may seem a little nitpicky, but I am a big proponent of keeping the outside of your kegs really clean. It's just one of those things where in an environment where you're trying to keep everything clean and sanitary, and you have one dirty thing, even if it's not itself contacting beer, it's going to be on your hands, on your gloves, different things like that. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed, got some value out of this discussion about how we handle keg cleaning. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you got value out of it, like, subscribe, and really more importantly, share it with somebody else that you know that loves brewing. Anyways, we'll talk to you later.